of, or at least that knockoff version she peddled like it was the real deal, when all it was, deep down, was a sneaky power grab. She didn't want love, my man. Love takes vulnerability, maturity, give and take. Her? She just wanted a fan club. A lovesick fool on his knees, juggling his own heart, all to feed her bottomless ego, an ego so bloated even emotional fasting couldn't slim it down. She tested you, sure, but not to see if you were tough. Nah, she was sizing up how low you'd stoop before becoming her personal doormat. And congrats, you aced her twisted exams. You tried to be patient, tried to get her, tried to be the mature guy she claimed she wanted. Spoiler alert, she lied. She didn't want a real man. She wanted an emotional puppet, grinning when she pulled the strings and crying when she ghosted. Your honesty? She laughed it off like a bad stand-up routine. Your silence? She called it weakness. Your feelings? Just ammo for her mockery. The game. Oh, the game was simple. Push you till you snapped. And when you did, guess what? She strutted around like the villain in a primetime soap opera, powerful, misunderstood, and, yeah, insufferable. But here's the plot twist her script didn't see coming. Your comeback. Because even the most lovesick guy has a moment of clarity. And when you finally wake up, her house of cards built on your pain collapses like a shack in a hurricane. Today, you're gonna learn 3 phrases. Not loud, not threatening. These are scalpels. Sharp, precise, and deadly to the inflated ego of someone who thought she could toy with you forever. This isn't about lashing out. It's about showing, with ice-cold clarity, that her throne was propped up by your humiliation. And now, brother, you're standing tall. And when you rise, she falls. This video? It's not for the guy still sending good morning texts with heart emojis to someone who leaves him on red. It's for the man who's done chasing someone who only knows how to wreck. The man who doesn't beg for respect anymore, he demands it. Not the groveling kind, but the kind you enforce. Because when you say what she never saw coming, man, there's no undo button for that. But let's keep it real. This video only exists because someone out there had the guts to hit like and subscribe. So do your part, smash that like button, subscribe, drop a thanks in the comments. It's not for me, it's for the algorithm. Because if there's one thing that deserves to go viral, it's this wake-up call. Enough with the sappy stuff. Let's get to the punches. Number 1. Why her ego is terrified of a man who doesn't care. What keeps a toxic woman up at night? It's not the loud, aggressive dude, all bluster and unchecked testosterone. Nope. That type's almost fun for her, like an emotional guard dog she thinks she can tame. It's not the hopeless romantic either, the one sending flowers at 3 a.m., whispering, I just want you to be happy. That guy's easy prey. She shapes him, uses him, then tosses him out like yesterday's takeout. Her real nightmare. The man who's checked out. The guy who watches her emotional circus with the same enthusiasm as paint drying. The dude who doesn't fall for her flirty act, doesn't cry over ignored texts, and definitely doesn't beg when she dangles her tests like a dog treat. Here's the deal. Her messed up ego is a beast that craves applause. She needs those adoring looks, those, wow, you're one of a kind comments, as if being an emotional train wreck is some kind of trophy. She thrives on validation dressed up as kindness and submission wrapped in a bow labeled, Good Morning, Queen. Then along comes him, the man who doesn't react, doesn't argue, doesn't cry, doesn't beg, doesn't send paragraphs at midnight, doesn't chase, doesn't make a scene. He just is, watching. And that silence, it's not peace, it's a war she doesn't know how to fight. For someone who lives off manipulating feelings, indifference is like cutting the power mid-performance. Cue the panic. Why doesn't he want me? Why doesn't he care? The answer? Short, sweet, and brutally smooth. Because he saw through the game, and he's done playing. He's over her emotional blackmail, her jealousy traps, her fake affection laced with ulterior motives. His vibe's different now. And the kicker? He doesn't hate her, because the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. And for her, that's the end of the world. Quiet disdain is the knockout blow. It's like saying, "You've got no hold over me anymore," without opening your mouth. It's the death certificate for the emotional control she thought she had mastered. And when her castle starts crumbling, who's standing there, arms crossed, watching it fall? Him. The guy she couldn't break. That's why she's scared. A man who doesn't beg dismantles her chessboard. And with him out of the game, she loses the crown she thought was hers forever. Number 2, how a toxic woman turns your words into weapons. Every time you said, "I love you," thinking you were pouring fuel into the relationship, she heard something else entirely. Sweet. Another lever to pull. You thought you were being the bigger person by apologizing, even when you weren't wrong. She saw it as a shiny new trophy of your surrender. Yup, you were waving a white flag in a war zone, and she was turning your words into heat-seeking missiles. A toxic woman doesn't listen to understand. She listens to stockpile. She memorizes your insecurities like a general studying an enemy's weak spots. Oh, he's scared of being rejected? Perfect. I'll weaponize that next week. You, naive, thought you were having a heart-to-heart. She, the emotional warlord, was building her arsenal with every word you let slip. She doesn't want a conversation. She wants a confession, not to connect, to control. She'll fake interest, promise empathy, give you that "I want to know the real you" look. But all she's doing is cracking the safe in your head, stealing the codes to tear you apart when it suits her. And you, like an open book written in raw emotion, spilled it all, explained yourself, justified your feelings, handed her your heart on a platter, and she was ready with a knife and fork. You said, "I just want to make you happy." And she thought, "Great, he'll swallow anything for that." You admitted, "I'm scared of losing you." And she smirked inside, like a movie villain hearing about a surprise inheritance. Because right then she knew she'd won. The problem was never what you said. It was who you said it to. Words are tools. In the right hands, they build. In the wrong ones, they cut. And she was a chaos surgeon, knowing exactly where to slice to make you bleed slow. The worst part? She used the ammo you gave her. That's why your silence is your shield now. It's not cowardice, it's strategy. Because the next words out of your mouth won't be love letters. They'll be verdicts. Not to hurt, but to end it. For good. Because when she hears what she never expected, her reign of manipulation is over. Number 3, phrase 1. You're not as great as your ego thinks you are. This phrase doesn't need a raised voice or a snarky tone. It lands cold, straight, with the chill of someone who's done pretending to be impressed. And that's exactly why it's unbearable for someone hooked on other people's praise. When you drop, "You're not as great as your ego thinks you are," you're not arguing. You're done. It's not an attack. It's just the truth, stripped bare, no emotional makeup to soften it. It's the moment her pedestal cracks, her stage collapses, and the spotlight flickers out. The drama queen realizes once and for all that the audience has left and the last guy standing, he doesn't see her as special anymore, just predictable. A toxic woman runs on validation. She's addicted to those looks that scream, "Wow, you're different." Every compliment is a brick in the castle of self-esteem she built with a mortar of self-delusion. And you, while you were under her spell, kept adding to that fantasy. But now, you've ditched the script, and that's when it all falls apart. She treated people like they were disposable because she thought she was untouchable. But hearing you, the guy who once put her on a pedestal, say she's not all that, it's like being dethroned mid-parade. The crown hits the dirt, and she, scrambling to keep up the act, tries to play it off. But it's too late. The silent crowd watches the fall of a goddess who only existed in her own head. And no, this phrase isn't cruel. Cruel was what she did with your trust, with your love, your patience, your desperate attempt to be real in a relationship built on her performance. She used your vulnerability as a ladder, and now she's tripping over her own arrogance. You just gave her what was left, the truth. And the truth, coming from someone who once adored her, hits harder than any angry outburst. Because she knows, if even you see through her now, the spell's broken, the cycle's done. There's no going back. This phrase doesn't beg for respect. It demands it. Because it marks the exact moment you stopped being her fan and became her mirror. And no oversized ego can handle its own reflection. Number 4. Her reaction to that phrase, and how to handle the chaos that follows. Buckle up, because her reaction to, "You're not as great as your ego thinks you are," won't be pretty, honest, or emotionally mature. It'll be a performance worthy of an Oscar. She'll laugh, a nervous, forced cackle that reeks of panic in disguise. She'll mock you, try to paint you as the hurt guy, the bitter one out for revenge. And if you're not careful, she'll even try to guilt trip you for speaking the truth. Yeah, she'll slap on her emotional armor and scream to the world that she doesn't care. But inside, the implosion's already started. Because what really wounds a manipulator isn't hate, it's clarity. A clear-headed man is her kryptonite. And you, with one phrase, yank the rug out from under her throne. That sarcastic giggle? It's fear in a costume. That "I'm totally fine" vibe? It's desperation trying to look cool. Because she learned early on that losing her composure means losing her grip. And right then, she knows. She's lost it. Then comes the chaos. Not on the surface, of course. She's too theatrical for that. But inside, her castle's crumbling. She'll try to bait you, push you to argue, twist your words, flip the script to make you the bad guy, the toxic one, the jerk. Because now she's desperate for one thing, your reaction. Any reaction. A comeback, a defense, you didn't get it. Any sign she still pulls your strings. And this is where most guys fumble the ball. They react, they explain, they try to seem reasonable. Result? They're back in her game. And guess who's still calling the shots? Her. But you? You're playing different now. The winning move? Silence. Clean cut. No comeback. No let's talk. No. I didn't mean it like that. You said your piece. You cracked her armor. Now let the impact do its work. Because here's the truth. Her game only exists as long as you're playing. The power lies in stepping off the board and watching her try to play solo. And that's her worst nightmare. Don't feed the beast. Don't bite the bait. Don't send that late night text. Because she'll try. She'll test you harder than ever. But now you know. Respect isn't requested. It's enforced. And the man who enforces it doesn't need to say it twice. But hold up, one more thing. Listen up, champ. Sick of being her luxury doormat, lapping up crumbs and still saying thank you? Today's the day you stop being an extra in her emotional soap opera. Check the description for a digital book waiting for you. No fluffy self-help nonsense. This is a straight-up reality check. It'll teach you how to be a challenge, how to stop groveling for someone who stomps on you, and most importantly, that respect isn't a favor, it's non-negotiable. Your call, stay the court jester, or become the king who burns her stage to the ground. Number 5, phrase 2, I don't have anything left to prove to you. This phrase is the period at the end of a sentence no exclamation point needed. No yelling, no anger. Just a calm so unsettling it feels like a velvet-gloved slap. When you say, I don't have anything left to prove to you, it's not just the end of a fight. It's the end of her rule. She feels it. Deep. Because for a toxic woman, it's not about love. It's about attention, validation, control. Every time you explained yourself, trying to show you were different, that you deserved better, that you were there, you were feeding her delusion of power. She didn't want understanding. She wanted dominance. She wanted you competing with ghosts of exes that don't even matter, with insecurities she planted just to watch you trip. And you, thinking it was proving your love, played right into it. You bent over backward. She grew taller. You broke down. She calculated. You gave your all. She weighed how to weaponize it later, because it was all a game. Every word you said was data in her emotional algorithm, and she played like she already knew the outcome. But then, one day, you just stop, take a breath, and say, I don't have anything left to prove to you. No rush, no drama, no need to convince. And in that moment, she loses. Because this phrase isn't a defense, it's freedom. She gets it. The stage is gone. The crowd's left. The show's over, and no one's clapping. Worse, no one's trying to impress her anymore. And that wrecks her ego more than any insult. Because only a man who knows his worth can walk out of the ring without swinging. And you walked out. No need to yell. No need to argue. You just showed you don't have to prove jack to someone who never cared to see you. And that is unbearable for her. Because now she's tasting the bitter pill you swallowed for so long. The sting of being ignored. The ache of being unseen. The panic of losing value where she once ruled. This phrase isn't just an ending, it's a reckoning. And the message is crystal. She might have been the center of the universe before, but now she's just a shooting star, pretty in free fall, but irrelevant on impact. Number 6. Why this phrase triggers her fear of being left behind. I don't have anything left to prove to you. Just a phrase, right? Simple, direct, no theatrics. But when she hears it, her spotlighted stage turns into a pitch-black basement, and she's the one left alone. Because in that moment, she gets it. She's not being admired anymore. She's being overlooked. She's not special. She's just another face. The emotional mirror she used to see herself as a goddess shattered. And the worst part? It broke without a sound. That's what terrifies her. A toxic woman thrives on control, but her ego's main dish is the fear of abandonment. Other people's fear, not hers. While you were explaining yourself, groveling, reshaping yourself to fit her mold, she slept easy, knowing she had you locked down. You trying to save the relationship were her proof she still wore the crown. But then you dropped that phrase, and suddenly the game flipped with a quiet brutality. Because now she has no clue where you stand emotionally. And if there's one thing a control freak can't stand, it's uncertainty. You stopped yelling, stopped begging. Hell, you stopped caring. And she felt it like a kid realizing their favorite toy's gone for good. Except this time, the toy was your heart. And it's not coming back. What crushes her ego isn't your anger, it's your calm, not your raging presence. It's your emotional absence. You're still there, but you're not there. And that's what she can't handle. Because while you were hurting in silence, she still had the reins. But now that you say, with steel in your voice, that you've got nothing left to prove, she knows. She lost. And she lost in a way she can't manipulate her way out of. This phrase ends one chapter and starts her paranoia. Before it, she thought she had you in her pocket. After it, her emotional empire starts to crack. She'll try to claw it back, provoke you, laugh it off, act unbothered. But inside, she's living her worst fear, the quiet, invisible abandonment that leaves no note, just the silence of your indifference. You might still be around. She might see you, hear you, but she can't feel your soul tied to hers anymore. And that kind of abandonment, the emotional, untouchable, permanent kind, is what breaks her. She finally gets it. You didn't walk away from her side. You walked away from her grip. And nothing scares a control freak more than a man who doesn't need her, not even to defend himself. Number 7. Phrase 3. It's not that I disappeared. You just stopped being worth my time. This phrase? It's not just a closer. It's an execution. Cold, subtle, silent, and absolutely crushing. Because unlike an "it's over" or an "I can't stand you," it doesn't accuse, doesn't beg, doesn't overplay. It just reveals. And revelations, my man, are the deadliest poison for an ego that fed on fairy tales. It's not that I disappeared. You just stopped being worth my time. This isn't just a comeback. It's a death sentence. No yelling, no finger-pointing, no persuasion. It lays bare what her ego refused to see. The problem was never time or burnout or your emotions. It was her. And for someone who built her whole identity on being irresistible, that's unforgivable. Because this phrase doesn't say, "I hate you." It says something far worse. You're not worth my energy. When a toxic woman hears this, it's not just a breakup ringing in her ears. It's the demolition of the character she played the whole relationship. She thought she was one of a kind, irreplaceable, untouchable. And she was for a while. Not because she was special, but because you believed she was. You put her on that emotional pedestal. You admired her. You went all in. That's why she toyed with you, ghosted, tested, poked. She knew one snap of her fingers would have you running back. But now, no matter what she says, posts or tries, sweet, sorry, spicy, or stone cold, it's done. Because she's not worth your time anymore, and that's her total collapse. She scrambles to make sense of it. Digs through old texts like she's hunting for a lost spell, replays conversations, tries to rewrite the script, but all she finds is the echo of your absence. And when you say, with dead calm, "It's not that I disappeared, you just stopped being worth my time," you're signing the death certificate of her illusion. Because the man who says this doesn't feel anymore, doesn't want, doesn't come back, and she knows it. This phrase doesn't just bruise her ego, it obliterates the whole persona. Because now, the one who's worthless is her. And that's a pain no filter can fix, no new fling can erase. Because the man who says this didn't leave a void. He left a scar. The scar of being rejected by the one guy she swore would never have the guts to walk away. And the cruelest part, no drama, no fight, no scene. Just one phrase. Cold, clear, final. The kind of phrase that doesn't end a chapter. It ends the book. Number 8. The silence. After these phrases hits harder than yelling. The curtain falls when the audience walks out, and guess what? You finally got up and left. And now, after that last surgical strike, the real terror begins. Silence. Not the "I'm hurt" silence, but the "I'm awake and bored" kind. Because a toxic woman doesn't fear a blowout. She loves it. She guzzles drama like it's an energy drink. Yelling, crying, long texts, desperation. That's her symphony. It means she's still got an audience. Someone's still playing her little game. But what she can't handle is the end of her own show. And silence. That's the finale. A silence that doesn't demand answers, doesn't chase attention, doesn't make a fuss. It's the silence of, "I see you now and I'm not impressed." And that silence, my man, is worth more than 1,000 forced "I love yous." She'll try one last twirl, of course. Post that shady photo with a passive-aggressive caption. Send that "just checking in" text when what she really wants is to see if she still got you on a leash. She'll poke at your ego with half-baked jabs, acting like she's above it all, when really, she's on her knees emotionally with no one to notice. But you don't reply. You don't explain. You don't take the stage. Because the spotlight's hers, but the power was yours. And you just cut the mic. And that's when she gets it. Gets that it wasn't you who vanished. It was her charm. It wasn't you who stopped caring. It was her who stopped mattering. And what's left? The echo. The echo of words she'll never unhear. Not because they were mean, but because they were too damn true for someone who lives off pretending to feel what she fakes. And now, alone in the empty theater she built, she talks, she rants, she performs, and nothing happens. Because her game always needed a crowd. Without you, she's just a woman trying to convince herself she's still a star, but even she's not buying it anymore. You became the ghost she conjured up, not to haunt her, but to remind her every day that the man she lost didn't leave, he healed. And she's stuck with the silence that doesn't hurt because it ignores, but because it exposes that her reign of worship is done, and all that's left is her, talking to a mirror with no reflection, no power, no you. And you just watch, in silence. The kind of silence that's louder than any noise she ever made. Number 9. When not to use these phrases. Signs you're still too green. Let's get one thing straight. These phrases aren't TikTok quotes or shady Instagram stories. They're not bumper stickers for your alpha persona, and definitely not a magic trick to flip the script overnight. They're razors, and razors aren't for kids to play with. There's a ton of guys out there hearing this kind of stuff and thinking they're suddenly emotional black belts. They spit these lines at anyone who bruises their ego, thinking they're schooling someone, when really, they're just throwing a hissy fit with better vocabulary. Want to know if you're still missing the point? It's the guy who says these phrases with a shaky voice, eyes full of hurt, trying to pass off neediness as detachment. Because your tone snitches on you. It betrays the unresolved anger, the clinginess screaming for attention, the hope dressed up as disdain. Hard truth. If you're still trying to sting her, you're still in her game. If you're fishing for a reaction, regret, or a 3 a.m., text. Congrats, you're still on your knees, just wearing a tough guy costume now. And the worst part? A toxic woman can smell that a mile away. She senses your fake strength like a predator smells fear. And when she sees through your act, she's back to toying with you, back to breaking you. Because she knows deep down, you're still out there proving, showing, craving her notice. So get this through your skull. These phrases aren't for hurting, they're for closing. They only work when they come from a place of peace, resolution, no ulterior motives. When you're done because there's nothing left to save, fix, or hope for. Saying it for revenge, you're just handing her bullets. Ego-driven, you're begging. Saying it for clarity, that's power. That's when you don't want anything, not even the win. Just peace. Just the freedom to walk away without her baggage. Just the satisfaction of surviving. Because only a man who's dried his own tears, emptied his pride, and ditched the attachment disguised as love can look her dead in the eyes and say, without a flinch, without a show, without a care, I've got nothing left to prove. And you? You were never as big a deal as you thought. That phrase only lands when it's about freedom, not unresolved pain pretending to be cool. Because if it still stings, brother, it's still a lie. Number 10. When you say less, but say it right. She never forgets. She'll move on like it's nothing, of course. Smiling in photos with empty captions, posting cryptic glow-up quotes, acting untouchable and thriving. But between one selfie and the next, your words will burn like a tattoo she can't laser off, not because of the words themselves, but because of who said them. You didn't yell. You didn't grovel. No tantrums. No novel-length texts. No begging for her to change. You just looked at the woman who thought she owned the story and dropped the truth like a grenade she didn't see coming. And man, that shattered everything. Because no one ever dared to dismantle her act with such precision, and even less with such calm. The guy who shouts, she labels him weak. The one who ghosts without a word, she calls him spineless. But the man who says little, says it sharp, and then goes quiet with the chill of someone who's already moved on. That guy haunts her ego. Because you weren't her drama. You were her turning point. The period that didn't need an exclamation mark. She'll act like she forgot, sure. But her mind, the same one that thrives on twisting reactions, remembers every detail of the moment she heard what she didn't want to hear. Remembers the steady gaze, the even tone, the lack of desperation. Remembers the first time someone had the nerve to say enough with dignity, not noise. And that echo will chase her when she's alone, when she's being hyped up by someone new and still feels that void no cheerleader can fill. When she tries her old tricks on another guy and realizes it doesn't hit the same. It's your voice that creeps back. Not because you meant to leave a mark, but because you stopped trying, stopped explaining, stopped being the nice guy, and became the mirror that smashed her facade. Because your words weren't just catchy lines, they were surgical goodbyes. The final curtain on a story where she thought she was the star. And nothing cuts deeper for someone who's always had everyone at her feet than remembering the one guy who stood up, looked her in the eye, said what needed saying, and walked away like she was never all that. Simple, unforgettable, irreversible. Number 11. The last phrase that's not on the list, but changes everything. There's one phrase you won't find in self-help books or alpha mindset videos preaching fake confidence. This phrase isn't meant to hurt, but it stings. Isn't meant to attack, but it disarms. It's not flashy like a movie line or dramatic like a breakup speech. It's worse, because it's clear-eyed, and clarity, my man, is the sharpest hit anyone can take. The phrase, short, blunt, no frills. You never lost me, because to lose me, you'd have had to actually have me. And right there, in the silence that follows, her world caves in. Because in that moment, she gets it. She never had you. At best, she controlled you, tricked you, toyed with the fragile parts of you, still chasing her approval. But have you for real? Never. Because having someone takes presence, takes mutual effort, takes emotional maturity, none of which she ever brought to the table. She wanted control, not connection. Wanted to be orbited, worshipped, put on a pedestal. But she never bothered to know who you were beyond your hustle to please her. And now, too late, it hits her. This phrase doesn't spark a debate. It slams the door and locks it. When she hears it, wherever she is, whoever she's with, the silence inside her is deafening. Because there's nothing left to cling to. No guilt, no anger, no attachment. Just nothing. And in that nothing, all she hears is the phrase she never saw coming and no one else ever dared to say. She braced for a meltdown, expected you crawling back, begging to be seen. But what she got was maturity. And for someone who lives off twisting emotions, that's game over. She lost you long before she realized. And now, no matter how she cries, rants, posts, or provokes, it's done. Because you walked away the only way that truly hurts. Without looking back, without shouting, without needing to win, just awake. And if you made it this far, you get it. This isn't about memorizing zingers to fling at every woman who let you down. It's about seeing that you gave your all to someone who only knew how to take. It's about quitting the cycle of guys who over-explain to women who underfeel. These phrases aren't weapons. They're freedom. The end of a script where you were the clown trying to save her emotional circus while she laughed at your effort. Respect isn't a request. It's a requirement. And if she never gave it, you've got the right no. The duty to walk away like a man who's enough. When you say what she never expected, with the calm of someone who owes nothing, you don't become the bad guy. You become the wake-up call. The lesson she'll never admit to, but never forget. Maybe she'll never apologize. Maybe she'll never own up. But she'll remember. And that's enough. Because real power isn't about tearing someone down. It's about rebuilding yourself where she thought there was only weakness. If this video finally snapped you out of the haze after all this time, then the job's done. Simple, brutal, and necessary.